Hello YouTube, and welcome to another week of VCT Pacific Rostermania news. My name is William Cho, one of the casters here at VCT Pacific, and we've been taking a look every week at how things have been shifting here within the rosters of VCT Pacific as we prepare for 2024. We've actually had quite a few teams now pretty much solidify their full five at the very least. Maybe some of them add, 6-mans or something like that. No longer necessary for the 2024 season, so we'll have to wait and see. So the dust is starting to settle, but we had a couple small updates this week as well, so let's take a look right away. Kicking off this week, which I believe we're now in week 6 of the off-season, ever since roster changes could be made, we actually only have 2 big announcements, so to speak. Well, I guess you could say 3. So the first one is, I didn't have it bolded, but let's zoom in here so everyone can see it. The first one comes from Zeta Division. So Barce, the Brimstone Specialist, as we all have come to know and love him, has been released from Zeta Division. The announcement says it's because his contract has expired, but that's through Google Translate, so I don't know if that's entirely correct, because technically the global contract database says his was also until, I want to say 26, excuse me. Yeah. So not sure. I mean, maybe there was like a renegotiation. Who knows how that panned out? But either way, Barce has parted ways with Zeta Division. They made an announcement on their own site, and Barce left like a thank you message as well. So the Brimstone Specialist no longer on the roster. I mean, he was really just on the bench. We didn't get to see him play at all during VCT Pacific 2023. So curious to see if, has he been cooking up a deeper Asian pool? Will he be looking to continue pro play in other teams, whether it's in VCT Pacific, which would really just limit him to DFM because there's no other Japanese speaking team, or maybe goes back to Challengers Japan. We'll have to wait and see. But other than that, Zeta is still very much a mystery. We don't even know for sure if these 3 are going to stay. There were rumors that all of them have been shopping around, so maybe that's still ongoing. Who knows? No one really has a strong clue about who else they might be looking to pick up. So the Japanese scene a little bit under wraps still for the time being. Meanwhile, the other big announcement that came out was Polvi finally officially announced for Global Esports. Now, myself included, a lot of us, this was not someone that we would have expected until some of the leaks and rumors started to happen. And then we said, okay, I mean, yeah, there's a possibility. Some of the fans who have been following Polvi's own, individual career, I'd really hoped that he would continue to get, better chances to show off what he has in store on the big stage. And now he's getting it. And we took a closer look at Polvi last week, and we realized, okay, why does this make sense? He used to have some chemistry with Russ and even Coach Spin, back in EMEA. I believe it was when they were all on 10-star. I might have to correct myself on that, but we took a look at it last week. So there's already some connections there where, Russ and Spin probably were looking at potential pickups, and they said, okay, maybe things work really well during that time. It did seem to look that way, if you look at their record and their performance. So it's someone they wanted. There were also additional interviews recently with Benkai, and then a couple things here and there, own content coming out from Global Esports as well with Russ. Russ has been streaming a lot as well, and it does seem like they're gonna try to go for a much more structured approach. And some fans are wondering, ooh, is that gonna work out? Blaze King, Lightning Fast, Benkai, these are all kind of W gaming guys. I actually don't find it that way. Lightning Fast maybe, but I don't think it's so much that he's a W gaming type of player. It's a matter of discipline for Lightning Fast. Just so you know why I'm trying to differentiate those two is that Jing is the best example of this. Yes, he also has some times where he could be more disciplined, but quite frankly, his style is also very much reliant on I go in, I create space, I get kills, right? That's the motto of Jing and the majority of Paper Rex. On that note, while Benkai used to play on Paper Rex, Benkai was, if anything, depending on the meta, you would say that Benkai was kind of a big boon to Paper X at times because he was the one who wasn't W gaming with the entire rest of the team, right? He was anchoring, he was lurking, he was just creating these other safety measures. And then sometimes, obviously, that maybe held them back because it was a meta where it would have just been better if all 5 of them continued to push through, which happened to pan out very well for them in 2023. So I don't know if Benkai would necessarily have trouble with that style of play where it's much more structured, right? Maybe you're trying to think of everything in small slices and pieces around the map, very much more macro play, things like that. I don't think that would be too big of a problem. Blaze King, I mean, he can get aggressive, he can pop off, but he's also, in my head, especially at Ascension, the biggest highlights from him were when he was anchoring and things like that. So again, I don't think it's going to be too big of an issue. And then Polvi, has been putting up great numbers in the games he has been playing, both in Challengers and even during off-season. He was playing for Valiant, and a lot of fans got to kind of see what he had to show. And his numbers are pretty good. So the Global Esports roster, now that we have this, I'm assuming SK roster is going to be kept on the roster since we haven't heard anything further. His contract is still there. Funny enough, Polvi's contract actually not uploaded yet. So I'm going to assume that Rossi is going to be on there as a 6th man. We'll have to wait and see. But all their announcements point to these blue 5 players being the main starting 5. And it's a pretty solid roster. It's a solid roster. It's just that, there's no one here that we have come to see already where we're like, oh, this person's going to hard carry no matter what team they're on, right? There's not that type of individual reputation just yet. And I would say, Benkai, Blaze King, Russ, and Lightning Fast all had their chances. Polvi is probably the only one where it's like, okay, well, maybe it's just because he hasn't been given the chance yet. So we'll have to wait and see. Not that his career is short, but he's never really been given the chance to break through to Tier 1. So this can be kind of that opportunity for Polvi. But overall, not a bad team. And I totally believe the interview that they're going to want to play a more structured style, just looking at the roster. Whether that is good for Pacific and the meta coming up, as it evolves in 2024, that remains to be seen. But metas will shift, etc. But Pacific, especially in 2024, I mean, with the addition of players like Ye and Jemkin, it's starting to get pretty aggressive and carry heavy. So curious to see how Global Esports will do. But overall, now that I look at it in its entirety, I think it's a solid team. I don't think it's a team to write home about. I don't think it's a roster to get like mega excited about. But I think it's a solid team, and I'm very curious to see how they grow. The third, I guess, official announcement is that we did see that Sushi Boys, he was already gone from Talon. He had already departed from Talon, but he has officially joined Full Sense. So, we won't be seeing him on any other VCT Pacific roster, but you will be able to catch him in Challengers, and maybe, they're able to make their way all the way through Ascension next year. So, Sushi Boys fans, you can wait to see how that goes. Now, let's go into rumor territory just a bit. I am speeding through things a little bit this week because I do have to head out here in a second, so we're not even live streaming this week, so we're just recording it. But going into rumor territory, apparently it is rumored that Garnets could be very well leaving Talon, which I'm a little surprised about, but I'm only coming from a purely gameplay and result-based opinion, so who knows what was going on behind closed doors there and behind the scenes. But supposedly some people are hinting that Garnets could be unlikely to stay with Talon, which then leads way to the rumors that Governor could be joining Talon, or at least trialing very in a likely state for Talon. Because if Garnets was staying and then Governor was joining, I would look at it and say, well, that's like a big overlap, right? And I don't know. I don't think either one is a player where I'd be like, oh, no, you just easily like swap them and make them learn another role. I'm going to be very honest. I haven't taken like the closest look at all of Governor's plays, but obviously we got to follow Garnets during the 2023 Pacific season. And the reason I rated him so highly is because his his in-the-moment movement was so good, right? With agents like Jet. And that's something that only duelists can really do in Valorant, because they come with those movement abilities. So I can't imagine. I mean, yeah, we've seen teams like DRX that have shifted around a bunch of these duelists to other roles and found success. But at the same time, like, Garnett's, his biggest strength is being a duelist, right? So it's not just like good aim or good discipline, something like that. So, you know, if this rumor of Garnett's potentially leaving wasn't in play, then I would absolutely disregard this rumor of Governor. But hey, maybe they go hand in hand. So there's an idea. For those who don't know, Governor used to play for Turtle Troop over in North America. Also, I mean, I think, you know, Turtle Troop is one of those squads that, you know, a lot of fans of the individual players have kind of looked at and said, we hope that these players get more chances on a bigger stage. So we'll have to wait and see. Part of the reason that the Governor trials for Talon are coming up is because he is currently in Korea, according to his own social media. So maybe something's going on. Maybe he really is just on vacation and visiting family. Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. I'd be curious if Talon does go full international. I wonder what that looks like. I personally would be sad if Garnett's was, you know, departing, just because I think his play was very exciting to watch. But again, you know, if there's a chemistry issue or a discipline issue, that's a whole separate thing that we can't be savvy to. So we'll have to wait and see. There was another rumor that Tix from Australia was a potential likely pickup and trial for Talon Esports. And this seems a bit more likely, right? In terms of just role. He's mainly a controller, which does overlap a little bit with the remaining players like Cruz and Pattyfound. But, you know, if you put Pattyfound on flex, right, and he plays kind of, you know, if there's double controller like a Harbor, then he'll play the Harbor, which he's, you know, or the Omen, something like that. He's really taken a liking to the Omen towards the end of the 2023 season. And then he can still flex over to something like a KO. Cruz can still kind of go back to being like a main initiator type. Cruz is fairly flexible as well. So to me, that makes a little bit more sense in terms of just pure roles and what they've shown so far. Other than that, I'll be very honest, I don't have much more to say about Tix. Haven't had a chance to take a look at any of his old VODs yet, so can't speak to that. I will say the numbers aren't exciting. I mean, they're not bad, but they're not, there's nothing standout and when I take a quick glance at it. So we'll have to wait and see. But it does seem like very much Talon is still kind of just waiting on checking out all these different trials, potentially looking at a global roster with an import, things like that. So we'll have to wait and see what comes of that. Other than that, we don't have any more actual roster updates. And just to zoom out a bit, that means that we are currently looking at Paper Rex, DRX, T1, RRQ, Global Esports, and Bleed. So that is 6 out of the 11 teams that we know have a set starting 5. Some of them, like DRX, T1, and RRQ, there might be 1 or 2 extra changes in terms of do they keep a 6-man, do they not? They might not even ever make an official announcement about it. Maybe they just carry it through and we're all to assume that they're going to stick with the, you know, entire roster for the 2024 season. So that's why they're in green and not blue. But they all do have their starting 5. So very curious about that. Also, it should be noted that there is the... give me 1 second here. Here we go. Also, it should be noted, as off-season tournaments continue, the most recent one that was announced for the Asia region was actually the AfreecaTV Valorant League. So qualifiers for this had been going on for Thailand and Vietnam, and now we see, obviously, Full Sense and Fantasy United Esports both have qualified through their own tournament, but they just announced the invited teams, and this is a very exciting lineup coming up in the off-season. So EDG from China, Team Liquid from EMEA, Sentinels from North America, or the Americas if we're counting VCT regions, DRX, T1, and Paper Rex, the top 3 of VCT Pacific 2023. And then you have Fantasy United Esports, who actually did qualify for Ascension as well, and then Full Sense from Thailand coming up as well. So a very exciting lineup. potentially seeing Sushi Boys again since he joined Full Sense, so that's also an exciting aspect. But yeah, this is coming up in December, and this will give us a pretty decent look at, how do these teams look. A lot of us are hoping, okay, we hopefully get to see Monette playing with Paper Rex. Hopefully we finally get to see Xcurit playing for T1. Obviously he hasn't been able to travel with them to some of these other off-season tournaments because of visa difficulties, but hopefully this one happening in Korea, and that's something that they will have had to sort out anyway. Should be something that he can take part in. So obviously, with the roster changes up in Team Liquid and Sentinels as well, this is a very exciting first look. Very strong teams, very exciting teams to watch, and it will be happening in December. So we have a little over a month, but I just want to put that on everyone's radar as we continue to look at how do these new rosters look, who's strong, who's not. That's a tournament that you can keep an eye on to get a decent feel going into 2024. Also, it's in December, so it's like a month, 2 months away from the start of the 2024 season, so it should give us a pretty updated look at each roster. With that said, let us review our little update here in the rankings. Okay, so this was last week's rankings. We had Paper Rex, DRX, RRQ up top. So really the way I would tier these are Paper Rex, DRX, then RRQ, T1, Bleed, then Team Secret, GE, Zeta, maybe up to Gen G if we ever find out who else is joining them, and then Talon, Detonation, Focus, me. Not necessarily the teams, but I just mean like the grouping of tiers, right? So Paper Rex, DRX, I think, automatically they're in the top 2 in terms of power rankings. I would be surprised if anyone put them otherwise, no matter how hyped you are about, Bleed or RQ or any of these other teams. They've been so consistently at the top. I think you have to give that credit. Nothing has changed for RQ, T1, Bleed. Unless I just randomly change my mind, I'm probably not shifting these. I mean, maybe I will change my mind once we see, like, if T1 looks really good with Xcurit at the off-season tournament, the AfreecaTV Valorant League, then maybe things change a little bit there. Again, if RQ or Bleed show up at some of these off-season tournaments and I'm seeing something that I didn't account for, we might see a change. But I think this is what I'm going to stick to, because this was basically my first impression ever since they announced their full starting 5, or it was close to being announced. Meanwhile, nothing else has really changed, right? GE, we assumed Pulvi was joining, so GE's sitting there. Team Secret, depending if they pick up a rookie, there is a chance that I would rank them right below G. There's a chance that I would swap the 2 just out of a discipline factor, because Global Esports is a pretty veteran roster, actually, if you take a look at it. So just out of experience, maybe I rank Global Esports higher in terms of overall consistency. But I think they're fairly close in terms of overall ranking and power. And then the rest, again, we just have no idea. There haven't been any solid updates. I mean, Barca left Zeta Division, but we haven't heard any additions. So these are really just at the bottom because it's much more about question marks. Not anything else. No, it's not really about like, oh, the 3 players they have right now, I would rank them lower. No, it has nothing to do with that. We have to wait until we see the full 5 to see where we would rank them as a team. So I actually don't think we're going to make any changes to the ranking here. I am, just as an update for everyone following this series on YouTube, I'm going to consider not doing these weekly anymore as we slow down on the news. Maybe we just kind of wait until a full roster is announced, or, until like a set number of announcements are made. I'll update on that. But if we don't do these weekly, then I think we will go back to doing scoped in weekly, because we're starting to have a little bit more off-season footage. So then we can take a look at something like the Esports Night events. Obviously, Game Changers events are coming up to wrap up their season. So we can take a look at that to focus in on how's, some other play looking in the Pacific and Asia region. So we might have a little bit of a shift on what's our fixed weekly content. But either way, we will keep tabs on this. So The Rostermania updates will return until we have the full starting 5 of all 11 teams and then our final power rankings. But whether it will be weekly or not, I'll hold off on that. I will update both on Twitter and on my stream, and then we'll continue with that. So that's just a heads up, as you know, things are starting to trickle down to a slow stop here, as most teams are solidifying their starting 5. That's it for this week, though, for week 6 of VCT Pacific Rostermania. Hope you guys enjoyed all the updates so far. Now that Polvi is officially announced, so let me know what you think. If you've been following Polvi's individual career, leave in the comments down below what you think is going to be the biggest strength that he brings to global esports and VCT Pacific. Outside of that, I mean, hey, I'm happy to hear of any ideas if anybody knows who might be joining any of these 4 teams, Zeta, Gen.G, Talon, DFM. Leave your ideas in the comments below, and maybe we'll take a closer look in the coming weeks with all of your suggestions and potential rumors. But aside from that, if you like the content, please leave a like on the video. Of course, any sort of comment always helps for the YouTube videos. Of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, as we will continue to get back into Pacific and Asia Valorant analysis as well with the Scoped In series. And that's it for this week. I will see you all next time.